The other storyline will be Myles Garrett. The last time he was on the field was against the Steelers, and all heck broke loose in the final minute of that game. Heading back to Pittsburgh, crowd won't be as big as it normally would be, so that won't be. But and the players downplay it. But when something like that happens, a player remembers it, and these two teams flat out don't like each other right about now. Even though nobody's going to really come out and say that, that's just the way it is in professional sports.
It's funny how much has changed since then. I mean, Mason Rudolph is the backup quarterback now. Myles Garrett for about 2 weeks was the richest defensive player in the NFL, and he was making his defensive player of the year case. And of course, Freddie Kitchens is gone, Don Dorsey is gone. So much has changed, and it hasn't even been a year since that incident. But that being said, there are going to be Steelers fans that are going to let Myles Garrett hear it when he comes out, even if it's not 70,000 this time, even if it's only whatever they have there, 5 or 6,000. They're going to let Myles Garrett hear it. I'm sure guys like David DeCastro, Marquise Pouncey, all those guys that were involved in that incident, they wouldn't mind getting their hands on Myles Garrett a little bit, and within the rules, kind of sending a message to him, and however they can. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, because it feels like it was so long ago, but at the same time, I think once they get on the field, it is still going to be fresh in guys' minds.
Yeah, and the other thing is the players will be able to hear each other a little bit better because there aren't anybody. And you can be sure everybody's going to be trying to push Myles Garrett his buttons to get him out of the game. I mean, he has become a defensive MVP candidate with the way he's played. So everybody's trying to figure out how to get him off the field.
This is a really good test for Myles, and really something we talked about earlier, and just the Browns culture that they're trying to build. Last year, I think it was maybe a little easier to get in Myles' head a little bit. He had some of those roughing penalties. In the opener last year, he did punch Delaney Walker. And then, of course, we had the incident with Mason Rudolph, where I think Myles was the frustration because he was having this really great game, but he wasn't putting up great numbers. He hadn't gotten a sack yet. And that whole play started when Myles, kind of dragged Mason Rudolph down a little bit. He had gotten rid of the football. That's what started that initial scuffle. So, Myles has kind of grown past that a little bit. He's sort of grown out of some of those things. We haven't seen the penalties, the offsides, the roughings, things like that. He seems like he's in a much better place after that suspension. And really, I'm curious to see how this goes this week, because again, the Browns have handled this really well leading up to the game, and I think this is a really good test for both Myles and the culture they're trying to build.